I found a wall that heats and cools homes without electricity. Industry buried it. Let me explain. I'm Casey Shimada, and I've spent years tracking down suppressed building techniques that contractors won't tell you about. This one? It's the most elegant system I've ever analyzed. A wall made of concrete, glass, and sunlight that eliminates your HVAC bill permanently. The United States Department of Energy tested it in the 1970s. Los Alamos National Laboratory validated every claim. Thousands of homes across 3 continents installed it successfully. Then something happened that still makes me angry when I think about it. The heating and cooling industry made it disappear. Not because it failed, because it worked too well. A wall that generates 0 recurring revenue is a wall the HVAC industry cannot allow you to build. This is the story of how a 60-year-old invention was systematically erased from construction knowledge. Let me take you back to where I started this investigation. I was reviewing declassified Department of Energy research from 1974 when I found a document that stopped me cold. A French engineer named Felix Trombe had designed a passive solar wall system in 1967 that provided 30 to 50% of a home's heating needs with no fuel, no electricity, no moving parts. The file included thermal performance data that matched or exceeded modern HVAC systems. But here's what disturbed me. The technology had vanished completely from modern architecture curricula. I called 7 architecture programs across the United States. Not one professor I spoke to had ever taught the Trombe wall to their students. A heating system validated by national laboratories had been scrubbed from an entire generation of builders. That's when I knew I was looking at deliberate suppression, not natural obsolescence. The principle itself goes back thousands of years, and that's what makes this suppression even more disturbing. Ancient Roman architects discovered that thick stone walls facing south absorbed solar heat during the day and radiated it inward at night. They called them thermal mass walls. Roman villas across the Mediterranean used this exact principle. Persian engineers built massive adobe walls that balanced desert temperature extremes without burning a single stick of firewood. Chinese builders developed the Kang system, using heated walls to survive Mongolian winters. For millennia, civilizations understood that walls weren't just barriers. They were batteries. Felix Trombe simply refined what humanity had known since the 1st century. Here's how the system actually works, and I want you to understand this because it's almost insultingly simple. You build a south-facing wall from dark painted concrete or masonry, 8 to 16 inches thick. You mount a sheet of glass 4 inches in front of that wall, creating a sealed air gap. You cut vents at the top and bottom, connecting the air gap to your interior space. That's the entire system. Sunlight passes through the glass and strikes the dark wall. The wall absorbs up to 95% of that solar energy. The air trapped between glass and wall heats rapidly, often exceeding 140 degrees Fahrenheit on winter days. Hot air rises naturally through the top vents into your living space. Cool air flows in through bottom vents to replace it. This convection loop circulates warm air through your home continuously. But the brilliance is in what happens at night. That massive concrete wall has been absorbing heat for 8 hours. After sunset, it slowly releases that stored thermal energy inward. You get 8 to 12 hours of radiant warmth with 0 energy input. The wall is both the heater and the battery. The research numbers from Los Alamos made my hands shake when I first read them. A properly designed Trombe wall reduces annual heating costs by 47% in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In sunny climates like the American Southwest, that number jumps to 70%. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory documented every test. Scientists at MIT calculated that if just 10% of American homes installed Trombe walls, the country would save 12 billion kilowatt hours annually. That's enough electricity to power 1.2 million homes for an entire year. But Trombe didn't stop at heating. He discovered that adding exterior vents transformed the same wall into a summer cooling system. At night, you open exterior vents and close interior ones. Cool night air flows through the gap, chilling the massive wall. During the day, you reverse it. The cooled wall absorbs heat from your room like a passive air conditioner. Researchers at the Indian Institute of Technology measured temperature reductions of 6 to 8 degrees Celsius during peak summer. 0 electricity, 1 wall, year-round climate control. Now let me tell you why this technology vanished, because this is where the story becomes genuinely ugly. The global HVAC industry generates over $240 billion per year. That revenue depends entirely on your dependence on their machines. Every furnace sold, every AC unit installed, every filter replaced, every technician visit generates profit. A Trombe wall generates 0 recurring revenue. You cannot sell a subscription to sunlight. You cannot patent concrete and glass. You cannot charge monthly fees for thermal mass. The wall doesn't break down because it has no parts that can fail. It doesn't need servicing because there's nothing to service. It doesn't need replacing because concrete lasts centuries. You build it once and your heating bill drops by half forever. That's not a product to the HVAC industry. That's an existential threat. Here's what happened next, and I have the timeline documented from industry lobbying records. During the 1970s oil crisis, governments invested heavily in passive solar research. The United States, France, and Germany built thousands of Trombe wall demonstration homes. The technology was advancing rapidly. Then oil prices collapsed in the 1980s. Funding vanished overnight. Research programs were defunded. University courses on passive solar design were removed from architecture curricula. Building codes were quietly rewritten to favor mechanical heating and cooling systems. The HVAC industry lobbied state legislatures across America. By the 1990s, the Trombe wall had been erased from mainstream construction knowledge. Not because it failed, because it made the wrong people lose money. Today, architecture students graduate without ever hearing Felix Trombe's name. Contractors install $50,000 HVAC systems in homes that could be heated by a wall. Homeowners pay hundreds of dollars monthly for a problem that was solved 60 years ago with concrete, glass, and sunlight. I need to be honest about limitations, because I'm not here to sell you false promises. Trombe walls work brilliantly in temperate and sunny climates, but struggle in regions with very little winter sun. Humid, tropical climates require careful moisture management between glass and wall. Retrofitting an existing home is more complex than new construction. But for the vast majority of populated regions, this technology works. It's been proven repeatedly. The limitations are real but manageable. The suppression is what's unforgivable. Let me show you exactly how to build one, because this knowledge should never have been hidden from you. Find the south-facing wall with maximum sun exposure. That's your Trombe wall location. Build or retrofit that section with 8 to 16 inches of dense concrete or masonry. Paint the exterior surface matte black to maximize solar absorption. Install tempered glass, 4 inches in front of the wall surface, sealed at edges. Cut 2 rows of vents through the wall, one near the floor and one near the ceiling, each about 4 inches in diameter. Install simple dampers on vents so you can control them seasonally. In winter, open interior vents and close exterior ones. The convection loop heats your home. In summer, reverse the process. Open exterior vents at night, close them during the day. The wall cools your space. Total material cost for a 12-foot by 8-foot Trombe wall section runs between $500 and $1,500. A new central HVAC system costs $7,000 to $15,000 plus hundreds annually in electricity and maintenance forever. The Trombe wall pays for itself in the first winter. During my research, I tracked down a retired architect in Santa Fe who worked on Trombe wall projects in the 1970s. What he told me over coffee still haunts me. He said his firm designed 12 passive solar homes between 1976 and 1982, all featuring Trombe walls. Every single client reported heating cost reductions exceeding 50%. Then, something changed. By 1985, local building inspectors began flagging Trombe wall designs as non-standard construction. Permit applications that sailed through in 1980 were suddenly rejected in 1986. His firm stopped offering the design entirely because the regulatory friction made projects unbuildable. He told me he watched proven technology die not from technical failure, but from bureaucratic strangulation. That conversation confirmed what the document suggested. This wasn't market evolution. This was coordinated suppression. I've tracked down people actually living with this technology, and their stories confirm everything the research promised. A homesteader in New Mexico built a Trombe wall on his south-facing garage wall 3 years ago. His propane heating bill dropped 60% the first winter. He spent $0 on maintenance since. A family in southern France retrofitted 2 walls of their farmhouse in 2019. They eliminated their electric heater entirely. Their home maintains 18 to 22 degrees Celsius year-round with no mechanical system. These aren't experiments. These are people living with technology that works. Technology someone decided you shouldn't know about. Felix Trombe died in 1985, and the circumstances of his final years disturbed me more than any suppression tactic I've documented. In 1982, he gave his last major interview to a French engineering journal. The interviewer asked why his wall system wasn't spreading despite overwhelming evidence of its effectiveness. Trombe's answer was chilling. He said the problem wasn't technical or economic. The problem was that his solution eliminated recurring costs, and modern industrial economies are built on recurring costs. He watched governments defund his research stations one by one. He saw universities remove his designs from textbooks he himself had written. Former colleagues stopped returning his calls. By 1984, the man who had revolutionized passive solar heating couldn't get a meeting with a single architecture school in France. He died knowing his life's work would be deliberately forgotten within a decade. I found his personal notes archived at the French National Library. The final entry, dated November 1984, simply read, "They will bury this because it makes people free." He was right. But concrete doesn't forget. Glass doesn't forget. The sun doesn't care about quarterly earnings reports. This knowledge didn't die. It was buried. buried under $240 billion of machines designed to keep you dependent. But buried is not destroyed. Every wall you build is a wall the industry cannot sell around. Every home that heats itself is a home that escapes the system. We didn't lose the Trombe wall, we just stopped looking. And now you know exactly where to find it again.